Okay, so right now we are at the spearmint batch, so I'm going to go ahead and cut these back so that we can do the same thing as I did just a second ago with the sweet mint. And I really like doing my own tea. I don't drink a whole lot, but I like it better than actually buying it because I can grow it. And if you can grow something, why not? And since this is growing quite well, it's a perfect time to harvest before it gets too big. And I actually want to be able to start treatment all over again so I can keep these worms in check to make sure that they are not eating all of the leaves. Of course, it's growing so well, I'm sure they're not going to be able to eat it all because I'm watering the way I'm supposed to, and I'm actually giving a little fertilizer also so that it will continue to grow the way it should. And as I said before when the video first started, looks like I got my mojo back. Normally doing this, I don't take the time that I'm supposed to water and stay on top of the way I'm supposed to, which is why the worms came in so heavy the last time and just decimated my whole crop. So now that I've gotten back on top of it a bit, fortunately there aren't any in this bunch, so that's a good thing. Okay, so that is my spearmint, and you can see here there are a few leaves in this batch also that has the markings of worm activity. So thus far nothing has fallen out of here, and that smells really good. Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. I like that. Okay, so now this last batch here is my peppermint. So we're gonna obviously do the very same thing. Get these guys cut out. Unfortunately, you guys are not able to smell all this because it's giving off such a great aroma. It is a beautiful thing. That's one of the things I like about growing things, is that to me it makes it that much more real when you can actually see where your products are coming from because you grew them, and you're not opening up a bottle or something and smelling it that way. You get the original product here from the source, and of course it all comes from you growing it. And that's always special too, when you're able to grow what you need. Or maybe that's just the country in me coming out now that I'm older, because we used to do a lot of this when we were growing up in Alabama, because that's the way we actually got our food, is we grew it. The produce and a lot of times the meats also. So it is a good thing to be able to continue to do this regardless of where you are. Now, of course, I grew up here in Southern California. Didn't do too much growing when I was younger out here because, like most people, I was running around, getting into things, doing things, and being busy. And of course, if you're really busy or too busy, you can't maintain your crop. Just like it was when I did this the first time. I put it in and I got caught up in doing other things. I couldn't take care of it, or I didn't take care of it, forgot about it, neglected it. And that video you saw before, that's what happens when you neglect your plants. Because being here in Southern California, we are on water restrictions, so can't water too much. So I figure instead of watering the grass, because I can't eat the grass, I thought I'd go ahead and water my plants back here. And once I finish this and get this all set and taken care of, I'll show you the other things that I've planted, because those things are actually growing pretty well too, because I'm actually slowing down, or purposely slowing down a little bit, so that I can do more of this, because this is something that I really like to do. And you can see that I'm cutting it down, but I'm not taking the roots. And with water, the roots will grow back. Let's see if there's any worms in here. So I've got no worms out of here or the spearmint. So all of the worms actually have come off of the sweet mint. And I could see that happening because sometimes people will actually burn peppermint oil in their homes to keep the bugs and everything away. They're good to keep insects out of the house. So I can understand why they're not eating this, because most bugs can't stand peppermint. So if it's around, they won't mess with it very much. I mean, there are a few spots in here where they've eaten. Well, actually not too much. The peppermint they don't like that much. The spearmint and the sweet mint they do. So this is my sweet mint, spearmint, and peppermint. So these will all get dried separately, of course, hanging up, and let them dry naturally. Then they will get crumbled up to make tea. So this plant here is another one of my herbal plants. It's still growing, so I'm not taking any of that. I'm going to let that grow a little bit more, and maybe in a month or so. Now I have over here some onions. These were taken from the other side over here. Then over here I have about 3 cucumber plants, and if you get a little close, like right in here, you can see there's a cucumber in there, and cucumbers here. As a matter of fact, all these little flowers here is where cucumbers are growing, or starting to grow. So those look like they're going to be pretty good. There's a nice one here. It's pretty good here. The only thing that is going on with these plants is I'm getting some of these leaves here. I forget what that's called, but I'm going to have to deal with that. So, and once again, pardon the fireworks, because it is the 4th of July. So right here, I put a little 7 dust on here to keep the bugs off. So that's working out pretty well. So that's looking pretty good. And I think the last video I did, I showed you guys where I was planting this. So this is actually coming up really nicely. And then there are a couple of volunteer tomato plants I have here. So those are going pretty good. I'm going to actually put a little cage or something around it, so they'll actually start growing better. And over here I have more tomato plants that I'm growing. There's some onion in the corner here, and then all of these are potato plants here, white potatoes. I believe these right here are maybe watermelons or something. Those are volunteers, so I'm not going to get rid of those. There are more onions over here. And of course I have onions here, but somebody put something over it, so I'll have to move that. And then there are more white potato plants over here. So waiting for those to grow, and that'll take a little while because it takes a minute for those to grow because those grow underground. So I think that's about it for gardening today. I got a nice little harvest out of these guys, so I am quite happy about that. So I'll do another video once I harvest some of the medicinal plant over there that's really young now, because what I do is when I harvest that, I crumple that up and I'll add it to these so that it'll give it a little extra in there. And that's for different things going on with your body and just kind of keeping everything in check. And then of course there's also the cucumbers over here. I'll do something with those also. Okay, so since everything has been harvested, I'll just leave those leaves there and let them compost themselves back into it. I just want to make sure that there's plenty of water to make sure that they continue to grow, because you can see the root system here is pretty nice down there and it's starting to spread all over, so that's going to be really good for the next harvest. So I'll give it a nice coating of water. Then I come over to my medicinal plant here. I always have trouble with that word, medicinal, or medicinal, however you want to call it. So here, my onions are coming up pretty good here, so I just want to keep this. Now this is one of those plants here that really needs a lot of water too, because I planted this about the same time I got those mints going again, and it's doing really well because I'm keeping it watered really well. So that works. And of course, these guys, the tomatoes and the cucumbers, need a lot of water. And of course, I'm only watering the areas where there are plants, so that I'm not trying to water everything, because as I said earlier, we are on a water shortage or water restrictions here in Southern California. So I'm only going to water the areas that really need it. And in the next day or so, I'll come back and cut all the leaves off of these that are rotting, just to kind of keep everything growing well, because I don't want to start any kind of other things going on with the plants. And I forget what this, I think it's powdery mildew is what this is called here. So if I cut all the leaves off of here that are actually dying and dead, then that will hopefully help keep any other things from coming out, or help the plant to keep from getting any other kind of diseases or things like that. And of course, I'm not watering the whole plant, because if I water up there where the flowers are, the water will actually knock the flowers down, so I don't want to do that. That may stop the growth of those little cucumbers that are coming. So everywhere I have plants, I just put a little water. And of course, all this area down here that's not wet, it doesn't really need to be wet because there's nothing growing there, because I'm trying to do my part to conserve a little bit of water here and not water too much. Now here you can probably see a few weeds and everything growing up, because I have been giving it a little bit of water on a consistent basis, so weeds will start to grow. So in the next couple of days, I'll come out and I will actually do a little weeding before they get big. That's one of the things that happens in the past, is that when you have plants and you see the weeds growing and you don't do anything about them, they actually grow faster than you really think, and you come back and it looks like a jungle out here. So I'm trying to keep that from happening this time. So my onions over here are looking pretty good. They were there before, but of course they weren't being watered, so they start dying. And of course, you know, when you're cooking, it's always good to have onions to come out and pull from your garden so that you can add a little bit to your food. Then sometimes there are little pieces of grass like that that are easily pulled when you can so that it doesn't grow any larger than it should. So once again, not watering too much over here, but just enough to make the plants remember that they are growing, or they're supposed to grow, and give them a little growing energy. Moving these guys out because I do have onions over here underground, so as soon as they get enough water, they'll start growing also. That's about it for this video. So once I take care of this harvest, I'll get everything going. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys when I shoot the next video.